Hi, I'm Kelly Forbes, Senior Mental Health Practitioner with Southern GP Federation. I work in GP surgeries and today I'm here with Niamh.
Hello, my name's Niamh Quinn. I am lead advocate here with AdvocacyVSV.
Today we're making a video on surviving sexual violence. Me and Niamh would work with this population and we really feel that the challenges that are quite specific to surviving sexual violence can sometimes be barriers that get in the way of people accessing support. So we're hoping this video will put a language to some shared experiences that survivors may feel quite alone with. We're hoping it will help people close to survivors to understand what they're trying to navigate. And we're going to finish with what services can support you if you would like to move forward. So Niamh, what do you think are the challenges specific to this client group?
Sexual violence.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. I suppose, Kelly, other types of trauma can involve physical violence, natural disasters, accidents, emotional abuse, or witnessing harmful events. Now, these types of violence will violate a person's sense of safety and well-being. But the type of violation that occurs when there's a sexually violent or crime happens is much different. It's much more intense. A sexual violation, when that occurs, a person's sexual boundaries, their personal autonomy, and often their sense of safety is deeply impacted. Sexual violence will erode away at somebody's self-worth. That's what happens. It happens over a period of time, and somebody's self-worth, their vulnerability, erodes. It's deeply impacted. It's a breach of a person's most private, sensitive, vulnerable parts of their body, and this type of violation will cause victims to, I suppose, have issues with their self-worth, their boundaries, their body image. All of that is impacted because of the nature of the violation, which is different to other types of trauma. Moving on from that, Kelly, something that is really significant for a lot of our clients and a lot of people who have been impacted by sexual violence is the social stigma that surrounds sexual violence. Society to date have been pretty useless at talking about sexual violence. It only but further silences our clients and people who have been impacted by this crime. They don't know how to talk about it. People almost fear it and will unfortunately run away from it. And that prevents people who have been impacted by this crime getting the support that they deserve and need. So that social stigma, that taboo around sexual violence is so different to other types of trauma and other types of crime. Another, I suppose, barrier, challenge that a lot of clients and a lot of people who have been impacted by this crime are hit with is the impact that it has on their identity. You know, I've mentioned and used that phrase that social violence will erode away at somebody's self-worth. It carries and enforces, I suppose, a lot of our clients to carry feelings of shame and guilt. And I know those are terms that you will continue and elaborate on further, and people who work within this field will use those terms quite a lot because clients and victims of this crime, that's what they are left to carry: shame, guilt, blame. For a lot, sexual violence can result in people questioning their intimate relationships, their sexuality, how they feel about themselves and how they feel about those people who at one stage of their lives were very close to them, who they had intimate relationships with, and that kind of has eroded away from them as a result of them being impacted by this crime. For those, Kelly, who grew up, I suppose that term walking on eggshells, we hear that quite often. Trying to manage everyone else's emotions, disapproval can feel terrifying. You spend your young life trying to please everybody else. And if you find yourself, there's a risk that you have annoyed somebody or you've made somebody feel unhappy, your sense of safety is threatened. And that panic when they feel that they've maybe hurt or upset somebody, that's that child bracing themselves for something. That's a nervous system reaction, and that can result in people over apologising. That's not a need for somebody. That a lot of people can confuse that, where that's not somebody please like me, please like me. that's a trauma response. That's that nervous system, that brain reaction to disapproval, and it almost triggers that sympathetic nervous system. And I think people don't maybe understand that. They don't really have an idea of what that can look like and what that feels like. But it's really important for people to recognize that that's what sexual violence can do, especially for those who have maybe grown up in difficult settings with difficult and violent external factors. That's a coping mechanism, and that's that can really come out for people.
Yeah.
Within sexual violence, for those who have been impacted by this crime and this trauma, the physical effects is massive for people. It's another challenge, it's another boundary for people that they have to face. Undoubtedly, physical harm can be caused by other types of accidents or a physical assault. And, I'm not saying that other types of crime or other types of trauma can't cause physical harm, but the physical effects that happen as a result of a sexually violent crime are very, very different. People's sexual organs are damaged. That's really private. Again, it comes back to those most private, those most vulnerable parts of our body. We are now having to present to a doctor or a medical professional to get support and medical attention to the most private parts of our body, and that's really hard for people to do.
And we were talking as well, weren't we, about women that are maybe invited in for a routine smear. That might be incredibly difficult, and we would encourage women, if you do get that reminder, to perhaps present to the front desk and just say, look, can the practice nurse ring me? And that conversation does not need to be the specifics. It can say, look, something's happened to me that's going to make this procedure quite difficult, and the practice nurse will welcome that information, because it's important, to have those investigations, and it could be that there's a double appointment, so there's a little bit more time.
I suppose that would, those physical effects can often lead to and run alongside the psychological effects of what sexual trauma can do to somebody. And I know that's something that within the surgery and within your role, that those complex, the PTSD, all of that kind of stuff, Kelly.
Absolutely. So the psychological effects, most people who are survivors of sexual violence, because of all the complexities that you've just talked about, Niamh, will likely meet the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. So the flashbacks, the nightmares, the panic attacks, the anger, the numbness, the disassociation, difficulty trusting others. We cannot stress enough that these symptoms are because of what's happened to you. They're not standalone symptoms. The origin of them is clear because of what's happened to you. There's some changes in the brain that happen following trauma. The timeline goes offline, so that part of the brain that says that was then and this is now. So the past jumps into the present, hence the flashbacks, the relivings. The part of the brain that assesses danger and safety can become faulty. It can become too numbed down, so you don't see any safety or danger in your day-to-day life. People have said to me, loved ones have said that I just seem numb and that I don't care. It's not that. It's because that part of the brain, has been impacted. Or the other, overactive, I see danger everywhere. And I think this can be very difficult for parents who are survivors that have got children. Even navigating their children to go out into the world, that can be terrifying on a daily basis. And some people say I've been described as sensitive or walking on eggshells. But again, that part of the brain that's the gatekeeper of the information has become wide open. So it's a sensory overload on a day-to-day basis that can make it really hard to connect to day-to-day life. The other pieces that I wanted to talk about that fit in with what you've been talking about, Niamh, was I think we have a society that victim blames. It's very common for phrases like, why were you out? Why were you out late on your own? Why did you invite them back? Why did you allow yourself to be alone with them? Why didn't you tell anyone? Survivors are asking themselves those questions on a daily basis. We do not need to be feeding into that, because the other part of this then is the shame, blame and guilt. Which I think is so common to survivors of this particular trauma. So Perpetrators will highly likely distort somebody's reality to do this abuse, to betray, to violate, to cross boundaries. So it can be done in a number of ways. One is just pure fear. If you tell anybody, I will share videos of you, I will tell everybody what you did, and some people have said they've told me they will find me and they will kill me. So this is real fear induced. This is really hard stuff. The other way can be through eroding somebody's self-worth. No one will believe you. Look at me, I'm a pillar of the community and you're just little old you. Who are people going to believe? You're damaged goods now after this, no one else will want you. Really getting in there at that self-worth. And I think this one where the perpetrator will really confuse care, intimacy, desire and sexuality. So you sought me out, you enjoyed it, this is because I love you, this is what people do who care for each other, you wouldn't want me to be sad, would you? And that piece can get very confusing for people, because especially if it happened when someone was younger, because they might not see what led up to you being the first person to touch them. There might have been a period of grooming, or in adults there might have been a period of love bombing where that affection was showered and then the goalpost changed. So with fear and shame, if a perpetrator can get those feelings going, quite often they'll be silenced. And then quite often that distortion's carried out in the power dynamic, the most common being the child and the adult. Niamh, do you think that's most of the barriers?
The criminal justice system,
Yes,
Kelly. The criminal justice system obviously plays quite a huge role for us here at AdvocacyVSV, for those who are wanting to navigate their way through the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system for victims of a sexually violent crime is so different. Again, it's a huge challenge, it's a huge barrier. And quite a lot of it is down to the fact that the majority of sexually violent crimes will happen behind closed doors. They happen in private spaces where we don't have evidence. We don't have CCTV footage. We don't have video evidence. We don't have photographs. Even those who groom, who do this over long periods of time, and even the opportunists of our world, they all commit these offences behind closed doors. So quite often when it comes to proving a case within the criminal justice system, it's really difficult, and it quite often falls down to one word against the other. The criminal justice system here in Northern Ireland is often described as daunting, intimidating, re-traumatising. It falls on the victim side, it falls on the public prosecution service to prove that these offences occurred. The criminal justice system in Northern Ireland is a system that is designed to ensure that innocent people do not go to prison. It's not designed to support those who have been harmed. The burden of proof falls on the public prosecution service, it falls on the victims to have adequate evidence, to have enough evidence to prove that this happened. In comparison to other crimes, that's a hugely different scenario. It's a much more complex, again we use that word complex, a complex challenge that victims of this crime face. And because it's such a difficult system, so many more victims will say, I'm not doing it, it's too hard. And so they pull their complaints away, or they disengage from the system, and they remain silenced, and they remain victim, or crimes of this sort remain unreported.
So we've covered the challenges, and I think whenever we spoke about this video, we said if the one thing that we want people to take away from this video, if nothing else, is the message that you are not the problem, what has happened to you is the problem. That is the standalone that we want to take out. So I guess moving forward and thinking about accessing support and help, because if people do access support and help through this journey, it's likely to make it slightly less traumatic. So some quotes from people that have accessed support. I feel that without your help and guidance, I would have not gotten through such a difficult year. You made yourself available to me 24/7 when I was in a very dark and scary place. You were someone I knew I could turn to with anything. You guided me through the court with advice, and you were with me when I needed it. Without you, I would have ended my life. I will be forever grateful for the support that you provided me. What happened to me made me think about ending my life. You made me see I'd be okay. I cannot thank you enough for helping me through the hardest part of my life. No matter how many times I tried to push you away, you were always there and you never let me down. You always took your time. Words don't do the justice for the overwhelming gratitude I have for your support. You listened without judgment and helped me without expecting anything in return. So thinking about where to access support, I think the starting point of that is support does not mean going and speaking to somebody and thrashing out all of the specific details of, you know, your worst nightmares to somebody that you have barely just met. It's meeting somebody where they are at right now. So something has happened to me and it impacts my present, and what that looks like for me right now could be a number of things. It could be I'm angry. It could be I don't trust people. It could be I have real problems sleeping, or I'm having flashbacks. So the first piece could be, how is this impacting your present? And let's start there. So Niamh, do you mind talking about your service?
Not at all. So AdvocacyVSV, we set up as a charity in 2018. We are a charity that supports both males and females who have been impacted at some stage in their lives by sexual violence. Some of our clients are looking advice and support and guidance on the criminal justice system, and we will support them from those very early stages of when consideration is being given to reporting, right through to when maybe their case is in court. But also alongside of that, it is about offering that professional, that specialist place where victims are supported to assess how this crime has impacted them. We offer that emotional support for them to process trauma and to look at the impact of how this crime has impacted them. I don't know if we have said or not, but we are the only charity in Northern Ireland to offer this specialist support to victims in the safety of their own home.
And I know clients that have accessed your service, Niamh, have spoke so appreciative of that ability that they don't have to go somewhere. This can be within the private confidentiality of their own home, which can help them feel safer. So
Absolutely.
People can present to their GP surgery. So again, a GP could offer an initial consultation and help with signposting or thinking about where next. Most surgeries will have a senior mental health practitioner, so a specialist in mental health, and you can request to book in with them via reception. Nexus is the national charity in Northern Ireland for counselling for those who have survived sexual violence. So again, that is a self-referral. And again, we're going to include all of this information at the end in the description of all the services and how you can access them. There are national services, so there is the Victim Support NI service, probably more practical advice and support, particularly with the criminal justice system. We've got a variety of helplines that are all 24/7, where you have a trained counsellor on the end of the line. If you want to say that it's specifically about sexual violence, then we have the Domestic and Sexual Violence Helpline. If perhaps somebody doesn't feel comfortable to say that bit, then we have the Samaritans and Lifeline, which again, that they support anybody who's having a difficult time.
This is such an individualised journey. There is no one fits all. You know, everybody will have, there may be a commonality in that they all have been impacted by sexual violence, but everybody's needs, everybody's feelings, everybody's thoughts are so very, very different, and it's really important to know that it's okay, that you're not on your own, that it's okay to feel in particular ways, and that the support is there to help you understand that and support will be so specific to you, not to anybody else, just to you. And I think that's really important to help to let people know that the supports here and obviously with yourselves are tailor-made and they're specific to what you need as an individual.
Everybody's journey is different. There is absolutely no right or wrong. We hope this video has given some shared language for people, and we hope that it's given some advice on how to access support. All of those support services will be available in the video for you to click onto. Thank you.
Thank you.